guys, it's Teeny and you guys are joining me on a week worth of vlog for my community medicine trip as a third-year medical student in Thailand. I left Ramathibodi Hospital at roughly 8 a.m. in the morning and it's going to be a 7-hour bus ride to Ubon Rat Khon Kaen. Yay! I mostly slept my way through the drive, which was nothing new. We arrived a bit earlier than expected, and here I am checking into my flat room. A little room tour of where I will be sleeping with 3 other girls in my group. The room seems a bit sketchy, but we'll manage. Then we headed to the district's hospital to meet all the staffs that will be accommodating us. They were cheerful and welcoming. Then we had our orientation where the head of the hospital sang us 2 songs that he himself changed the lyrics to gratify Ramathibodi. Here I am met with my mode of transportation for the trip, a 6-wheeled truck, also known as a hoklo. We rode the hoklo back to our flat, which is situated within the famous Ubon Rat Dam. We went back to catch the sunset at the dam, and it was such a view. I would definitely be back here every morning to see the sunrises. Riding the hoklo back to the hospital to have tray food dinner. And we ended the day with a group meeting where we set our clear objectives for the trip. Stopped at 7-Eleven to grab some snacks before heading back, and that concludes my first day here at Ubon Rat. Good morning, let's get the second day started. So as I'm having breakfast, I'm video calling with him. It rained this morning, which got everyone shivering on the hoklo. The wind did not help at all. We made our way to the Rama Dome, which is a center point for the villagers of Mu Song Kok Sung village to meet. We met with the headman or chief as well as the village health volunteers, and we're just getting to know each other and understand more about what they do. Soon after, we headed to the health promoting hospital of Kok Sung village to learn more about their hospital and their system of healthcare. Here I'm having lunch in one of their hospital rooms and eventually visited a nearby 7-Eleven for extra snacks. Now we're visiting a villager's house for the first time ever, and one of the staffs is driving us in his car. Okay, we're here. So we're sitting in one of our diabetic patients' home and just casually asking him about his habits, lifestyles in regards to diabetes. He also showed us his farm and all his produce, which was pretty cool. We saw some watermelons and all these plants I can't name, and the coolest encounter was probably the scarecrow and this plant that closes when touched. Now we're just walking around the village and I had some time to kill, so I decided to visit this temple while waiting for others. After an afternoon of surveying the village, we visited Monansa, which is a cafe not too far from Ubon Rat Hospital. Honestly, this place is pretty awesome, with a bunch of animals like pygmy, bunnies, meerkats, giant turtles. The cafe is nicely designed, accommodating a great view for sunsets. I left the place with a green tea lemon drink. After having home-cooked noodles for dinner, we worked on the service more, and continued to do so as well when we got back. Good morning, you guys. It's our third day here, and today we're going to be learning about living a sustainable lifestyle and the effort of healthcare professionals that was put into enabling autonomy for the disabled. The people of Ubon Rat are truly great for being able to effectively utilize even the slightest abilities to make the most out of a person's competency, from agricultural labor to working as a hospital staff. So here's a full day of learning about the different aspects of how they achieve and maintain a functioning healthcare system within the community. We were going to visit a temple, but it started raining like crazy and decided to ditch the plan and stay in to work on the survey form some more. We eventually headed back to the dam and had a pretty decent dinner. Now we're back to working mode, and that's a wrap for the day. Day 4, and I'm greeted with minced pork porridge and a straw hat this morning. After 20 minutes or so of glancing outside the truck trying to figure out where we're going, we were eventually dropped off in the middle of nowhere. Well, not nowhere, but I wouldn't know how to navigate my way out. So we're given a tour of these farmers' big lands of agricultural hard work, and it was really fun. And they even put on a little show for us. To mark our legacy, we were asked to help plant bamboo trees and learned their uplifting chant. We went back to the village to start the survey, visit homes, and collect data. Then it's lunch break, and I had the opportunity to try making som tam, which is actually harder than it looks. Kudos to all them som tam chefs out there. I also tried this fruit called lamut. You can tell I didn't enjoy it that much. Soon we got back to work, went back to stalking homes and asking questions, and by 4 p.m. we were all completely exhausted. We stopped by a blind woman's home to help her clean because there was trash and dust everywhere. Everyone's busy sweeping and keeping the woman's company. Soon after, we went back to surveying, but the truck broke down midway. Instead of visiting homes, we had to drive all the way to their farms as a lot of them were working. And we were so out of luck because none of them were present at their farm. We came across one of our participants and ended up with some unrelated entertainment from her and less of the data collection. We were on the truck for a good hour before going back to the meeting point, barely making any progress and wiping all the orange dust from our faces. But little did we know, all of our participants we drove to were actually here all this time. So tired of this. Back to the hospital to get dinner, and I was so tired I didn't even feel like eating. To make matters worse, I went back to my room to find a jingzhou in there and freaked the out. A friend joined me to watch the sunrise this faithful morning, and breakfast was also delish. For the most part today, we're staying in this very room to work on data processing and analyzing. Here's my lunch and an orange, nothing special. All this productivity though. After like 3 hours or something, I came out to buy some roti with my friends, and the owner has a pet parrot. We visited the temple that we were supposed to visit on day 3, casually burning those extra calories from the roti. The sunset view from here is quite something, so we all stood and stared for a bit. And they hosted a lucky draw where everyone is guaranteed a prize, and here they're just picking out names.
ได้แก่พี่กุ้งนะครับต่อไปเสื้อ4รางวัล4คนนะครับปูนโนอาแล้วก็พี่พาน
แล้วคนสุดท้ายเดี๋ยวให้เพื่อนๆจับดีกว่าให้ตีนี่จับละกันนะคอนเทนต์1 ใบอะไรก็แจละกัน
2รางวัลไดโนเสาร์ได้แก่หมออู
I was almost the last to get picked. Guess what I won?
รางวัลต่อไป
กระเป๋าลดโลกร้อน
กระเป๋าลดโลกร้อนได้แก่ตริงนี่
เอาพอดีผ้าที่ตกพอดีถ่ายรูปทันก่อน
If you think climbing the stairs was bad, try walking down the slope. It's a whole new level of thriller. Back to the hospital for dinner, we spent a good almost 5 hours in this room practicing our presentation for tomorrow. Went back to our room and continued the presentation. It's day 6, and after my usual morning stroll, we're headed to the hospital to present the data collected from survey to the villagers.
.ต่อไปเนี่ยนะครับก็จะเป็นสิ่งที่ไม่ควรทำ
ความเข้าใจด้านผลไม้ของพ่อแม่เนี่ยยังไม่ถูกต้องเนอะ
โอเค เดี๋ยวพ่อแม่ดูที่รูปนี้นะ รูปนี้ รูปบน
กำแน่ๆเลยอย่ากำหลวมนะเดี๋ยวมันจะใหญ่เกิน
ใส่มียาใส่หมักมียาอย่างบ้างยาเขาหนึ่งกำหูเลยยาเป็นกำหูเลยนะ
เป็นคนแข็งแรงกับตะกอนโดยที่ว่า
บอกมือหน่อยบอกมือหน่อย
ยาหลังอาหาร ให้กินยาตอนไหน เดี๋ยวแม่นับหัวนับหัว
กินตอนเช้าก็ไปกินตอนกลางวันได้
เขาสิมาขอไว้คันเชื่อตัวว่าเอาคนที่มั่นหมายเขาจะมาขอเขาจะมามั่น
สวยมากเลยสวยมากเลย
Before you know it, it's lunchtime, and the kids were kind enough to make us their lime yum, which was so tasty. I absolutely loved it.
บอกเลยฝาขาวที่เอาเขียนจะซื้อกลับมาคืนเขาหน่อยขายเครื่องเดียวนะทำไมนี่เป็นผงนี่เปลี่ยนกล้อง
We played a bit of charades before moving on to our afternoon session, where we present our data to the local government of Koksum.
ลงเก็บข้อมูลในพื้นที่ตำบลโคกสูงหมู่ 2 ค่ะ ใน1 เดือนค่ะ เพราะอันนี้เป็น30 ช่องแล้วก็
ท่านเทศบาลตำบลโคกสูงยินดีสอบข้อมูลต่างๆ
To celebrate a successful day of hard work, we visited a few attraction places. First was a furniture shop ran by people with disabilities. Then in a cafe called Little Boss, which I was completely asleep the entire time we were there. And lastly, we went to Ban Nok Kok Kwai, and I got some pics with the buffaloes and a view of the sunset. It was a beautiful place. For today's dinner, my friends and I walked across the street from the hospital to enjoy a local som tam shop, and the food was so flavorful. Before calling it a day, we had a bit of a wrap-up meeting to go over plans for tomorrow. Day 7 is here, and this morning we've been separated into groups and assigned to various parts of the hospital. My group learned more about the OPD, and luckily we finished early and visited a nearby cafe. Pretty good matcha latte and even better company. The main agenda for today is dedicated to presenting our data to the other group who also came to Ubon Rat with us, and vice versa.
สังคมหรือว่าคุณภาพชีวิตเนี่ยในที่สุดแล้วเนี่ยก็จะเกิดความชื่อกลุ่มนี้นะคะจากตาสับปะรดค่ะ
หรือเที่ยวจัดเนี่ยสามารถทานได้เท่าไหร่ก็ได้
We had lunch at the same som tam place as last night. After presentation, we did a reflection session, enjoyed the third song from the head of the hospital, and had a bit of a bonding moment, which I couldn't film singing to Samahi Shumnum. Our last dinner here was a local buffet, which was quite memorable with all the unfamiliar things going on around me. For example, the local language karaoke and flies in our meat. My friends also bought some lottery tickets. This last night, I put an all-nighter with my friends, hoping to knock out on the bus ride home. A lot of people came out to see the last sunrise of the trip. After breakfast and packing, we departed the dam and rode back. We had lunch on the bus and stopped at Dairy Home Organic Milk to buy some souvenirs and ice cream. I fell asleep pretty much the entire way back, and as memorable as the trip was, I've never been happier to be home.